Ladies and gentlemen, tune in. Welcome. We are going live. We are live on the subject of synchronicity. That's a mouthful for an evening, isn't it? Synchronicity. What the hell is synchronicity, folks?
You just said
we're going to touch on that.
Serendipity, synchronicity. What's it all about, Alfie?
What's it all about? Let's just quickly, and as we go live, let's just quickly say this. Synchronicity, aside from being the fifth album by the hit band The Police, it is also referring to something quite special. Although I thought it was a very good album by The Police, Synchronicity.
Yeah.
What is synchronicity? Why should you care? What does it even mean? And we're going to demystify a few of these things in the short time that we have together, because I think it's a very special thing. Alex, shall I maybe kick off with a little bit of a definition for people to appreciate what we're talking about here?
Just for 10 seconds. Why the first spiritual book I ever read to got me on this spiritual, what's it all about, Alfie? What's all this stuff? It was a book called the Celestine Prophecy, in the 90s. And I'm just going to say one thing. There's sometimes once you understand this and trust and relax, you can, rather than be in the water, flapping your arms around, struggling to stay afloat and drown, you can relax and be buoyant. So that's my, and we'll go more on that a little bit later. I will pass over to you.
Thank you, Alex. So synchronicity, what is it? Is there a definition? Let me share with you a definition that I think for those of you who did read the description, you've got a textbook description of what synchronicity is. And for those of you who perhaps want a little bit more, let's just share what it is. It's a term that was coined actually by the Swiss psychotherapist Carl Jung.
Yes.
And he described it as meaningful coincidences where two or more signs that occurred randomly were also connected by meaning, not by cause, and that they seemed to be two distinct things, but they actually had some sort of connection. It means that something happens, you see a sign, and then there's something else that happens which is seemingly unrelated, and it also gives a sign that is connected with the first thing that happened. And that's sometimes referred to as synchronicity, something that seems to be more than just coincidence.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm sure we've all been there. Everybody, young, old, there's got to be an experience in your life where that's too uncanny. How could that happen? And it makes you question, what's it all about? No, that's just coincidence. There's no way that.
No, and exactly, and it's more than that. Synchronicity refers to meaningful coincidence. It's a series of events that seem related but have no visible connection, and therefore they're not repeatable, which is why they often fall foul of scientific scrutiny. That's not to negate them, but they just can't be lab tested like normal scientific things.
So I've got a question for you. I mean, I'm going to do a brief description on this book, The Celestine Prophecy, which is a spiritual book, and it's a good read. Ancient wisdoms. Basically, the whole premise of the book is there is no such thing as coincidence anywhere. Everything has meaning. Everything. But in my day-to-day life, I often wonder, things happen, and you think, oh, why did that happen to me? And then later on, there's a reason why something bad might happen to you. And the reason why something bad happened to you is because later on in your life, you find, oh, that was good that happened. There's a coincidence. The fact that bad thing happened, I wouldn't have got this job. I wouldn't have got that job. I don't know if that's quite
right.
synchronicity, but you might have to learn a skill because of something bad happening to you, and then it makes you. That's something slightly different, but there are times where you think, hang on, that's just got to be a pure coincidence, or not.
Right.
In your opinion, does coincidence exist? That's the question. Or is everything the power, some beyond our comprehension and understanding, synchronicity, the magic laws of some power way above our comprehension? Or do we have coincidence?
See, I think everyone will have a unique take on this. I think most of us are raised, our scientific upbringing for most of us, we're trained to be healthily skeptical. Some would say too skeptical. And I would argue that most people would not pay a second thought to something to be more than just a coincidence. That's what most people regard those situations or occurrences as, just mere coincidence. And yet there are other people who have had sufficient insights that lead them to believe that things that happen to them aren't just coincidence, but they're part of a bigger plan. They're part of a growth curve that we all go on in this life. I mean, indeed, this can become the subject of a whole series of talks, right? When we start talking about our soul's purpose, our life's journey, what we're here to do. And without treading too deeply in religious waters or philosophical waters on either side, I think I would say this, Alex, if I may. I would say that incidences occur which sometimes are perceived as coincidence and nothing more. And there are other incidents that occur that are more than coincidence, which do demand a little bit more scrutiny to see what's going on underneath the surface, or indeed what's going on at a macro level, at a bigger picture. There may be more that connects those seemingly incidents than meets the eye. And that's what synchronicity is about.
Synchronicity just happened. I got a notification. I can't read the messages. A gentleman who I haven't spoken to for a while, literally it just popped up. Marcus Langford has commented on my post. I can't read it. Could you read it? The reason why it's really weird because I met Marcus at the Kabbalah Center. Although Marcus is a Catholic, we were looking at Kabbalah. He's more adept into Kabbalah doctrines, but really fascinating, interesting insights I learned at the Kabbalah Center. And the weirdest thing is, he was saying one of the first books he read was Celestine Prophecy, and then he's just popped up. So what does Marcus have to say? Has he said anything? Can you see? No, you can't. Maybe can't see that.
No, I can't see anything at the moment from Marcus. I think it is interesting. I'll tell you one. My partner and I share the same birthday. Now, we didn't know that when we met each other. No idea. There was nothing that there's no way I would have known that fact. But it turned out, and it transpired, that we share the same day of birth. Mere coincidence? Maybe. Or is it synchronicity? Maybe these two people were supposed to meet. It was a serendipitous occasion that the two of us came together, and it turns out that we have the same birth date and similar temperaments. Could it be something more than that? And so as I'm saying this, I'd like to invite all of you, and I'm sure Alex would too, to start to revisit situations that have occurred in your life where you've had to think twice and kind of scratch your head or kick yourself a little bit, like pinch yourself and say, hey, was there something more to that than meets the eye? Right? I was thinking about my aunt and she just called. What was that? I was out. How many times have I had this? I was down on my luck. I had no money. I thought it was all over this month, and we're going to lose the house. And then I suddenly get this random check for a refund on an overpayment on a tax bill last year. Is it random? or is it synchronicity?
Yes. I've often had the same experience. Why is this happening? And couldn't quite understand it. Some similarity, I thought coincidence, and then you realize when you actually can look into it. This thing, when you have awareness and you understand the trick about. I did a winky face with a sign of the universe winking at you. When you have awareness, it's an amazing power to understand the synchronicity. You can almost like, and it's like magic.
Right.
In your world, you can see there's a greater working beyond our comprehension, leading us to something better. Yeah, if you know how to
leading you to something better, yeah.
But the trick is, how do you read the signs? Because I often I say to myself, that's bollocks, really. Talking to myself, that's not. I'm very skeptical, but at the same time, I'm like, no, and I check myself, and I was like, I'm going crazy. That's the universe talking to me. This coincidence has happened here. This isn't a coincidence. Me bumping into, I go back to an analogy I'd said on another live. I walked into a gym the other day, and I walked past the manager of the gym, and I wanted to approach him over a business deal, and I was nervous, and I had actually prepared the night before. We'd done a live about going into states, and I thought I was nervous, and I thought I thought this is now another. I went into the toilet in the change room, and I thought, right, Reid, I've got an opportunity to do what we call the elevator pitch. So I got my metaphorical shit together. I thought, right, this is an opportunity, a coincidence. I've been trying to get hold of this manager for 2 months, and he's not. This is the perfect time. Relaxed, calm. He's in the cafeteria having I could just go over and be nonchalant. Hey, how you doing? And I was nervous. The synchronicity of the fact that the night before we'd just done a live, so I had to go practice what I preached. I metaphorically went in the toilet. Heartbeat, blood pressure raised.
And
calm down. What did you talk about last night? You teach this stuff. You do this stuff.
You've got it.
I'm still affected by it. You can do this, Reid. This is your opportunity. You know your shit. Go out there and wow him. And I did. Is that
and then you did.
Yeah. And fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. The one thing, whatever happens in that regard, whether I get the deal or don't get the deal, the one thing, this is another topic, the most precious thing we have is time. And I see a Reid, and I've seen so many people, they don't ever regret what they've done. They regret what they haven't done. So at least I tried. And if it doesn't happen, I regret myself. I'll be kicking myself in the bum. How many times do we get an opportunity, a coincidence, and if you're not aware, you let your fear take over, and you don't. Sometimes you've got to step up. You get these coincidences in your life, and you don't take the opportunity. I took the opportunity.
So it is about that. It's about reading the signs. It's about being aware. Imagine if you went down in the woods, right? You went for a walk, and there are these signs, and you come across these signs: danger, wild bears, go ahead at your own risk. Now, you may consider turning around, or you may decide to disregard it and carry on walking. The point is, you've been warned. You've been warned that there are dangerous bears out in the woods. Now it's your choice whether and how you continue to go on that path or change course. So the same thing is with following signs. Signs show up in our life. A sign might be a person who resembles a person from our past. It might be literally a sign, a billboard poster, something that pops up for you on social media, a post perhaps, or an article in the newspaper, something that's triggering something that's connected with something else. And what's happening is it's creating a channel towards that synchronicity. So you got to remember Carl Jung, and again, just kind of quoting Carl coined this phrase. He talked about it as meaningful coincidence. So when you're talking about finding the signs, seeing the signs, you got to talk about things that appear to be more than just coincidence. They appear to be meaningful. But there's the opposite of this. And those of you who are tuned in who are skeptical, you may have come across the phrase apophenia. So apophenia is like the opposite. So whereas synchronicity is looking at meaningful experiences that could be more than just coincidence, apophenia is the tendency to see false patterns in random or meaningless data and draw conclusions from it. And so there's this dichotomy. Apophenia, yeah. The trap of synchronicity is to create connections that are misleading, right? You're reading something that's synchronicity that you think is synchronicitous, but actually it's not. It's just misleading. And then the trap of apophenia, the opposite, is to refuse to accept valid connections that actually do lead to something significant that might mean something more, and you're just failing to read it because you're just like too damn stubborn about it. And so learning to cultivate the ability to start to see those signs, and we can cover a few strategies right here in this short session, is the way to start to, I'd say, take advantage of synchronicity, to start to let synchronicity be a helper in our lives, like you kind of did with the example you just gave, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And the major thing here is awareness. And once you start being aware of, it's like I said, it's like a Peter Pan magic. Oh, this is interesting. The world, the universe become your own world, your own universe. Your day-to-day life becomes very exciting.
So I think there are different ways to become aware, and there are different ways to build that awareness so you can start to see the signs and not mistake them as something more than they are, right? Nor go into apophenia and disregard the damn signs that you're seeing because you're too damn stubborn to believe in them. It's kind of like you don't want to fall into either of those traps, right? So one way to do that is, surprise, surprise, bringing the mind to the present. So that is practicing meditation and or mindfulness, because the mind invariably, a large percentage of the time, wants to spend time in the past and worrying and lamenting about that, or in the future and being anxious about what's not happened. It's very rarely in the present. By learning to train the mind to be in the present through meditation, through mindfulness, we start to open up you can call it your third eye, you can call it your perception, your higher faculties, your higher intuitive faculties, to start to tune in to that. Science calls it the RAS, the reticular activating system. It's that part of the brain that's able to discern stuff. Like imagine, Alex, imagine what's your favorite color, Alex? What's your favorite color?
Silver, gold.
Right. And one of your favorite cars to drive?
Aston Martin.
All right. So imagine you kind of like had this you saw a gold Aston Martin on TV during the commercials or in a Bond movie, and you're like, oh my God, that's such a gorgeous car. I gotta have that. Now, strangely, over the coming days, and you're going about doing your stuff and getting to acting gigs and running around like you do, and you start to see gold Aston Martins on the road.
Yes.
Is it what's going on? Is it that suddenly loads of golden Aston Martins are turning up because you just saw one? No. What's happening is your RAS, your reticular activating system, is now more conscious, more aware of those vehicles than it previously was. It's now tuned in to drive like a homing missile.
Love it.
To focus your consciousness on stuff. And so now we can start to use that with serendipity, with synchronicity, right? Where we want a certain thing, we want a certain outcome. So we're looking for signs that help us to point towards that certain outcome. So being mindful and being in the now is part of that. And then you've got to talk about.
This is another great power with the law of attraction. We can attract. I'm going to take it for granted. We all know about the law of attraction. And law of attraction, I'm sure everyone's seen The Secret. There's a lot more to it, but it's literally focusing on the right things. Obviously, if you're focusing on these with this reticular activation system, you're going to start seeing the right things turn up in your life. And it's great. Brilliant. And get more of what you want. Concentrate what you want, not what you don't want. Because you'll get both. You'll get more of
I think and we can, I think, and part of that is to pay attention and listen for a deeper meaning. So sometimes signs will show up and we're not seeing them. So, I mean, taking a very practical example, imagine you're wooing somebody, right? You're courting somebody, there's somebody you really fancy and you're trying to kind of get their attention. And as you try and get their attention, they're kind of rebuffing you, right? They're kind of spurning your advances. So in a situation like that, it behooves us, it's in our own interest, that is, to read those signs, because we don't want to make a fool of ourselves. So we got to learn to become really tuned in that situation to know, okay, he or she really, yeah, she's not really fancying me, and I'm just kind of like running around like a numpty here trying to do it. Or it could be that he or she does, and we're missing the signs. Like, haven't you had that where sometimes a mate says, dude, you know that she really fancies you, he really fancies you. Like, oh, really?
Go on, get in there, my son.
Right. They're seeing something that you're not seeing, because we're not learning to see the signs. So we've got to become more tuned into what's going around us to start to see what's happening in front of our very face. Sometimes a no is a yes, and sometimes a yes is actually a no. We've just got to become more sensitive to what's going on beyond the surface. So the second tip is to start to be curious about stuff that's showing up and query it. Go a couple of levels deeper. What does it mean that this person's saying to me, no, you can't have this job? Or why am I getting this resistance every time I'm applying for this position over here, or that role over there, or finish this deal? Why am I getting that resistance? What does it mean? Start to get curious is the second tip, I'd say, Alex.
Yes, indeed. The curiosity of a kid.
The curiosity of a kid. You often say that. That's one of the things we want to do on our retreats, right? Get into that childlike state, man.
It's fun. Let's make life fun again. I mean, I said this the other day, they become different characters. They use their imagination all day long.
You said that.
We get a bit more serious. This is how I've got to react. I've got to be serious.
Yep.
You still need to play and learn the power of playing. And, when you've got that curiosity, it's like I said, I want the world to still be magic. And there's so many things we do understand, and with science, we understand in certain things we once thought were magic. Talking on this device I'm speaking on now, this is just years ago. This
absolutely
is witchcraft. So there's still going to be things that we're not fully comprehension, but isn't it fun when you're on that cusp, riding that wave? In these physical vehicles of spiritual beings we use, called Prash and Alex and all whoever's watching. Let's enjoy it, all the wondrous things we have in this world.
Some great feedback here. Leona's commenting, saying, let's also learn to be grateful for what has yet to come. Be grateful in advance for such occurrences. I think that's a wise stance to take, becoming grateful in advance. A third thing I want to share here, as we kind of bring this to a close, is, and I think this is quite telling, Alex. It's journaling. Sometimes stuff shows up in our dreams and we disregard it. And sometimes stuff that's happening in our dreams actually might be something that we need to pay attention to. Invariably, stuff that's happening in our dreams is stuff that's being surfaced through our subconscious, right? Our subconscious is working away while we're asleep. Our subconscious is very much awake, and it's running movies. And sometimes some of the stuff that's coming up in our dreams may have something valuable to show. And therefore, I would say another tip is to journal. You don't have to journal in a book and handwrite it if you really don't want to. You could just do it on your smartphone, but just make little notes of stuff that occurs along the way. Whether it's in your dream state, whether it's in your daydream state, whether it's some strange thing that occurs, in the day, and some old man crosses, a friend of mine, she said, she's working on a program. I'll give you an example. Very very good and dear friend of mine. She's working on a program right now called From Warrior to Warrior. And she came up with this idea in her. She's an expert in emotional intelligence. She said, I want to create this program, and it's going to take people from a worrying state to a warrior, an empowered state. So she was devising the program, and she asked the universe, you can say she asked her higher self, or the infinite intelligence. She said, look, show me a sign. A day after she landed from wherever she was, within literally a day of her asking this, she got off the plane, and as she was leaving the terminal, there was a huge billboard advertising some sort of sports brand, or some sort of something, and it said, from warrior to warrior.
Wow.
Coincidence? Maybe apophenia, or maybe it's apophenia. Maybe it shouldn't be disregarded. Maybe it's not just coincidence. Maybe there's something there within a day of seeing that, right?
Contact. What was the product? This is trying to. Can you go too much into it?
Sure. Sometimes you can read way into it, and sometimes I think there's an art of not reading way too much, but there is an art of being curious. I think there's value in being curious, and I think there is disservice in getting overly questioning about it, because then you're not relying on your intuition. You're getting too rational and not enough intuitive. I think there has to be a balance.
That could have been just a bit. The universe giving her a bit of cheerleading. Go on, keep going, kid. You're doing well.
Couldn't have said it better. And I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for signs that what did you say? The universe is cheerleading. Exactly. Cheerleading.
That. But also, there is those
couldn't have said it better, man.
When you're thinking, I'm discerning, questioning, because I'm consciously aware these days of, not always, but more often than not. And this is the art. We want to be as aware as possible, as sentient, conscious, spiritual souls. And there's an opportunity there. There's coincidence. What is it? Is it? I'm not quite sure if there is one. And you always. I think it's worth that conversation with yourself. You might sound like you're being
conversation
crazy.
With yourself. Yeah, no, for sure, man.
And
for sure, I think
I've even gone up to people. I've actually gone up to people and I said, look, I believe in some crazy. Look, I don't know you for Adam. I'm just putting it out here. I think such and such, and I just break the ice. I'll say, look, I believe in this funny law about synchronicity, and we've got this connection here. And they might just. Do you know what I've had when I've done that? More than half, I would say 6 or 7 times out of 10, people have started chatting to me, and there's been a nice synergy. Something's come out of it.
Nice.
And you just don't know. I mean, sometimes, no, sorry, mate. No worries. What have you wasted? You've just had very rarely someone's going to say, fuck off. But you just, okay, no, I'm sorry, no problem. It's fun. It makes the world fun, that curious mind. And I've actually had a couple of deals like that from strangers.
Strange.
From some sort of weird connection they're having to have. And I'm not looking for it. I'm not wanting it to happen. I'm allowing it to happen.
Right. And talking of allowing it to happen, another tip I think to share is synchronicities seem to occur more during times of great stress or change, or a crisis of some sort. When those things happen,
you're more aware of it? Do they?
Yeah, no. Very good point. It could be that they occur more, or it could be that we just become more aware of them. It could be either.
Of our senses in a stressful situation, we go into different brainwave states, and we're like,
and we're becoming. I think that's so true, Alex. Maybe we're becoming
like Spider-Man, like a ninja.
Yeah. We might become like Spider-Man, and now we're suddenly more attuned, more in tune with that. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to make a distinction as well. The term serendipity is also used as well. So a little bit of a distinction.
What is serendipity? Talk about that for the layperson.
Yeah. So synchronicity, where synchronicity is, as I described earlier at the start of the call, it's a meaningful coincidence. It's a series of events which seem related but have no visible connections. It can't be repeated. It's not subject to scientific scrutiny, but it has something more significant to it than meets the eye. Serendipity, a good example. A serendipity is when something unexpected but beneficial happens. When seeking something else. A good example would be so Alexander Fleming, his discovery of penicillin, right? So he was trying to do one thing and create and discover something over here. He went off. He wasn't getting very far with whatever the experiments he was doing. He went on an extended break, and when he came back, one of his assistants had accidentally left a petri dish in his lab, which was dirty, right? He hadn't cleaned it, and he serendipitously found that the dish was void of bacteria growth. Though mold was present, there was no bacteria growth, and that observation. That serendipitous observation, which he wasn't expecting, but it was fortuitous, it was beneficial, led to the discovery of penicillin.
I've heard that happen in medicine and science a lot.
That's serendipity,
looking for one thing, and then they get a whole new Nobel Prize award-winning discovery.
Something like that, right?
Good.
And so that's serendipity. So I guess that takes us to time. I mean, and talking of serendipitous, happenstances, we of course leave you with an invitation to refine your synchronicity skills and join us on our retreat, where we will be touching on subjects like this to help to fire our RAS, our reticular activating system, to make it more aware of what's going on. Alex, you want to say a word or two on that?
Just by having these kind of conversations,
it's
like dipping your hand in a pot of glue, and you're going to get some glue on your hand. We're going to glue, we're the sticky stuff.
We're the sticky stuff,
and we're going to leave us with pleasant sticky stuff in your mind, in your soul, and in your spirit. There's physicality, there's spirituality, there's meditation. We're not a yoga retreat, although there's yoga. We're not a martial arts retreat, or there's going to be some martial arts. There's going to be some fabulous meditation, conscious breathing, conscious walking, conscious eating. What are we putting? One of the things, and being aware, what's controlling us? Is it this? Is it S? Or is it this, your tummy? When you start to understanding things, it's going to give you control. For lots of people who are struggling to lose weight or gain weight or have issues about their weight, once you become aware, you can start talking to yourself, and it's having that friendly communication with this, with this, and this, and the gut. And once you get
the gut, right?
You could be a team. This is your second brain. I'm going to be talking about this a lot. What this does, and we need to, how you can control everything, your moods,
that's
your
so
health,
powerful.
from our second brain. We need the nutrients we have. People poison themselves. I'm going off on one. There's lots of fun, and you're gonna just, if you come, you're gonna learn so much stuff. From I can't. I'm getting excited. I'll let you talk, Prash. I can't talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to get in touch and discuss if you would be a good fit and able to benefit greatly from our retreat from Friday the 27th through till Sunday the 29th of March. So the 27th to the 29th of March, Friday to Sunday, we will be having this weekend retreat in beautiful Harlow, Essex, in a 5-star award-winning countryside mansion with a small handful of people creating something rather beautiful. So the link for the retreat and the details are in this live. So check it out. The description contains the link. And if you're interested, get in touch with us, private message us, and we will have a conversation, and we will see if we can make something very powerful happen for you and take you on this journey that we're going to go on ourselves. Alex,
I just want to do a super quick shout out. Marcus Langford. It's that I appreciate you. I just want to show you one quick thing that Marcus has sent me. If I can get it, where is it? No, I'm not going to. I'll do that another time. Guys, thank you all. Marcus,
everyone who's tuned in. Yeah, Sunkissed Henry, Jazz Sira, Dina Visrolia, Jackie Cutting, Elaine, Leona, everybody who's tuned in, who's watching. So nice to have you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on another episode real soon. Thanks, everyone.
Later, guys. Take care, guys.
Namaste. Peace out.